You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Here we go on a Thursday. A whole lot to cover on the program. I mentioned it at the top. It's a great day if you're a fan of the New York Islanders. More on the Islanders and their series win over the Bruins coming up later this hour. But we start with a football story and a story that involves Deshaun Watson. Now, for the past couple months, any time that we have talked about Deshaun Watson, we have talked about Deshaun Watson and we have mentioned the legal issues that have come about. The fact that he is facing 22 civil lawsuits that have been filed against him. The fact that in all 22 of those suits, they are accusing him of sexual assault, harassment, so on and so forth. And all trade discussions with Deshaun Watson have basically taken a backseat. Until yesterday, when Kareem Jackson was being interviewed by Aqib Talib. He was on Aqib Talib's podcast on the Volume Sports. And Kareem Jackson, as you'll hear in this clip, says that Deshaun Watson has told him the team he wants to be traded to is the Denver Broncos, the very team that Kareem Jackson plays safety for.
Yeah, I got a great relationship with Deshaun. I've been talking to him the last couple of weeks, man, and like all he's been telling me is like, look, Jack, just tell him like that's where I want to be. Like that's where I want to be. I'm like, man,
he see the setup, the line straight. He see the setup.
He like, man, listen, that's why he like I want to be in Denver. He's like, and like during the time while I was going through, you know, my little free agency thing, and I end up signing back here. Before I signed, he called. He was like, man, you going to sign? I was like, I don't know. I ain't sure yet. He's like, well, you know, let me know what you're going to do, whatever. And I signed back. He's like, listen, man, tell him that I want to be in Denver. So I'm like, hey.
So there you go. That's Kareem Jackson, his former teammate, of course, with the Texans, saying that Watson's told him he wants to be in Denver. Now, Ian Rappaport then came out, national NFL insider for the NFL Network, and said, while Deshaun Watson is being recruited by former teammates, Denver's an option. It's not necessarily the team that Watson wants to go to. Now, what does all this really mean, right? I mean, it doesn't really mean much if Kareem Jackson just says that. I mean, one, Houston would have to be willing to trade Watson, and two, Denver would have to be willing to acquire Deshaun Watson. What we still don't know with any of this is if a team would actually trade for Deshaun Watson, give up significant draft capital for a guy that could be getting suspended by the NFL. We don't know how long that suspension will be for Deshaun. We don't know when that suspension would even happen. And we still do not know if Deshaun Watson will be allowed to play football this year. He has 22 sexual assault civil lawsuits filed. Harassment, assault, the allegations range. The NFL could very easily put Deshaun Watson on its commissioner exempt list, which would be paid leave. So he'd get paid, but he wouldn't be allowed to play. You know, they could argue they don't want a franchise quarterback in the spotlight while he's dealing with 22 civil lawsuits. The NFL doesn't need a guilty verdict or a police investigation to do just that. So could a Watson trade still happen? It could. But what team's giving up all this draft capital for a guy that they don't know if he's necessarily going to be A, allowed to play this year, and B, could be facing a significant suspension? But I'll tell you what, Kareem Jackson's comments there indicate that Deshaun Watson is still at least dedicated to playing football this season. And he is still trying to get out of town, meaning leave the Texans. And then I also think you got to look at it from this perspective. The fact that Kareem was willing to put that out there would indicate to me that Watson wants that out there. That Watson and his camp, his people, are trying to change the narrative from the lawsuits to let's get back to the trade talk conversation. This is really, as I said at the top, the first time in months that we've had a Watson trade scenario story. I mean, really, since March, it's been lawsuit. Tony Busby versus Rusty Hardin, accusers, SI pieces, the sniping back and forth by both sides. This is the first time in a while we've actually had a real story with Deshaun Watson that talks about him wanting to go to a different team. And I think that's significant and shouldn't be poo-pooed. I think that is a very significant thing here. Now, I believe, and I've been told this, I can't prove it though, that Deshaun is trying to settle these lawsuits in time for the season. The reason why we have had less back and forth between the Texans and Deshaun and Rusty Hardin and Tony Busby, I believe the reason why that's happened is because Watson's trying to settle. And if he's trying to settle, that would indicate to me that he's doing everything possible to try and play this year. And most recently, about a week, 2 weeks ago, Deshaun Watson started posting like videos on Instagram or sharing videos on his Instagram story of him working out. It's the first time he has posted anything since that initial statement he posted to Twitter where he denied any wrongdoing when the first accuser came forward. The first civil suit was filed. And Watson put out that statement saying he's never treated any woman wrong. He's never done anything wrong. And it was almost like a call to action, like a challenge for all these other women that had allegations against Deshaun Watson to come forward. Since then, he's posted nothing until a couple of weeks ago. He started posting some workout stuff. So Kareem Jackson coming out saying what he's saying, to me, it's significant because it's the first time we've had a real Watson story that involves on-field stuff. And then the other thing that happened yesterday right here in town with the Texans is the Texans announced that they're not going to be holding mandatory minicamp next week. David Culley, the head coach, said, quote, "Our attendance at OTAs has been great for us here. We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish." Now, I understand maybe it's good PR to come out and say that, and you're a first-year head coach, earn the good graces of your team by saying, we're going to give you guys off because you all showed up. Call me a skeptic, but I think the reason why they are doing this, because it means they don't have to fine Deshaun Watson for a lack of attendance or excuse him from coming to camp. They don't have to now deal with that lingering PR battle. They get to come out and say, hey, we're giving our players off. We did what we needed to do. And they don't have to worry about Deshaun Watson now until at least training camp. And maybe by training camp, if Deshaun settles all these lawsuits, maybe they can work out a trade. Maybe it is Denver. And then you have the Aaron Rodgers situation impacting all this. Do teams view Deshaun Watson as the number one target that needs a quarterback, or do they view Aaron Rodgers, if he's made available, as the number one target if a team needs a quarterback? Who has more value? Right now, I would say Rodgers has more value. Even though he's 37, turning 38, Aaron Rodgers could play week 1 for you. We have no idea right now if Deshaun Watson's getting suspended. What if he gets 8 games? Could a team trade three first-round draft picks for a guy they don't necessarily know is going to play the full 17-game season? I don't think you could. So that complicates everything here as well. How does the Aaron Rodgers situation impact a team that wants Watson? We heard about Denver for Aaron Rodgers. Well, now we're hearing about Denver once again for Deshaun Watson. So it's very nuanced and very complicated here. And one certainly impacts the other. Right now, if I'm a team that can acquire either quarterback, depending on the type of team I am, I'm probably going Rodgers. In fact, I am. He's playing week 1. I have him. I have no idea if Deshaun Watson's available to play week 1. Now, legal issues get resolved. I think you want Watson. He's younger. But right now, who's more valuable if they both could be traded? Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson? The uncertainty of Watson's suspension and whether or not the NFL is going to put him on the exempt list would mean it has to be Aaron Rodgers. So that complicates the situation as well here. But I'm not poo-pooing those comments by Kareem because this is the first time we've had real comments about Deshaun Watson playing football this year. Comments indicate that he is dedicated to playing and getting the heck out of Houston. My gut tells me Watson's going to settle these cases in the coming weeks. It just seems like we're trending in that direction. I could be dead wrong, but there's a reason why it's been quiet on the legal side for a while now. And there's a reason why Kareem Jackson's comfortable coming out saying that Watson wants to be a Bronco. They're trying to split this narrative about Watson playing this season, not down the line. Will Deshaun Watson be a Texan when the 2021 season kicks off in 94 days at NRG Stadium? Maybe he doesn't play for the Texans. Maybe he's holding out or he's on the exempt list. But is he on the team? Or do the Texans trade him before then? 800-224-2004 is the number if you want to get involved and weigh in. If you're watching on the live stream, I am in a jolly mood today. The Islanders are going to the semifinals for the second year in a row. They have become one of the most well-run organizations in all of sports. And up next, we're not just going to talk about hockey. We're going to talk about a theme in sports that sometimes getting it right is about what happens at the top. I'll tell you what I mean by that next here on the Jake Asman Show on Sports Map Radio.
The middle.
I was really